Hello students, today let us see what is the influence of psychological theories on our understanding of environment. There are many theories or postulates that have been proposed in the field of psychology in order to understand human behavior. In the long history of psychology, which is for more than a century, many theorists have tried to postulate theories on varying range of behaviors. So, we will be taking some theories from the applied areas and see how we can understand the human behavior in context of the environment today. In this module, you are going to learn about several theories such as Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory, stimulation level theory, arousal theories, and adaptation level theories, so on and so forth. Before we go into details, why do we need a theory? Theory is a postulate that serves as a guidepost for researchers to understand their data, to manipulate their data, and to interpret the results of their data. So, theories serve us as guideposts in order to understand human behavior. Not only that, theories also help us to predict human behavior and also help us to generalize human behavior. So, to begin with, let us see the first theory in detail. The theory put forth by Maslow, which is called hierarchy of needs. Maslow actually proposed this theory in order to understand human motivation. According to him, there are several needs of the individual which need to be fulfilled. And he developed a hierarchy which states that if the lower order needs are satisfied, only then people will progress on to higher needs. You can see the pyramidal representation of all the 5 needs. The pyramid or the lower rung of the hierarchy starts with the physiological needs. Physiological needs are needs for belongingness, needs for water, food, and so forth. So, all of us know the importance of these physiological needs, and all of us readily agree without the fulfillment of our basic needs or physiological needs, we will not be even able to enjoy other aspects of life. For example, if we are feeling very thirsty and we are not able to get water, say for 1 or 2 days, then you can just imagine a condition. Even if we are given all the different things that we like in our life, but at that point of time, we will not be able to enjoy anything else except that all our concentration will be focused on trying to get some water to drink. So, our physiological needs to be satisfied first. That is the emphasis that Maslow has emphasized. And his second needs are safety needs. So, safety needs include our need for safety in the environment around us, our need for having a secured life, our need for having a safe family environment. So, our need to be protected from all the adversities of nature. So, the second need, the safety need, also is a very important need, and if this need is not fulfilled, again the individual will not be in a capacity to look at other needs. After fulfilling of his safety needs, next comes his love and belongingness needs. In this needs for friendship, for close family relationships, need to be loved and also to love others comes under love and belonging needs. And after these love and belongingness needs are met, it is only after a person feels that the person is being loved and supported by others around him or her, it is only then the self-esteem needs of the individual are met. So, self-esteem means the regard that we have for ourselves and the regard that we are capable of giving others. So, once the love and belongingness needs are satisfactorily met, then we will certainly have a good self-esteem. It is only after all these other needs are fulfilled, then Maslow talks about what he calls as self-actualization needs. So, according to him, self-actualization comes only if the person's all other needs are met, and then the person will be in a position to think about excellence. So, achieving the best that the person can achieve comes under self-actualization needs. Coming to understanding perspective of environmental psychology, Maslow says that after his lower needs are fulfilled, then the person needs what he calls as aesthetic needs. Only if these aesthetic needs are met, then only the person will be able to successfully progress on to the highest need, that is self-actualization. So, according to Maslow, aesthetic needs will be satisfied only if the person enjoys a very beautiful environment. If the person is exposed to scenic beauties and if the person is really able to spend quality time with nature, then only the person will be able to transcend to the highest need called the self-actualization need. So, this is where Maslow has contributed to the development of the understanding of human behavior in perspective of environmental psychology. Now, let us go on to the next need, that is stimulation need. Stimulation needs, according to this stimulation theory, they say that a person environment is a source for sensory stimulation. So, all kinds of stimulations impinge on the person's senses, which are all environmental based. Like there are some simple stimuli like light, sound, heat, and so on and so forth. There are also certain complex stimuli like buildings around us, like the rivers, oceans, mountains, that is the nature around us. So, both these kinds of stimuli, that is both the simple as well as the complex stimuli, continuously impinges on us and affects our behavior and attitudes and also personality. So, according to the stimulation theory, the amount of stimulation and also the meaning of the stimulation has a role to play while influencing human behavior. Now, let us see what the adaptation level theory has to say. According to this theory, individuals continuously make attempts to adapt to the environment, and actually according to them, two processes happen here, that is adjustment and the second one is adaptation. In adjustment, the person or the individual tries to modify his or her behavior as a response to environment. Like for example, if there is a person experiences intense coolness, then the person might go and put on a sweater. So, he will try to make a certain kind of adaptations, or if the person wants to adjust, if he or she is feeling that the temperature is little warm, then the person might choose not to enter that room, but probably go outside and get exposed to sun a little bit or to cool weather. So, adjustment is when the person tries to make changes in his or her own behavior, and adaptation is trying to make some manipulation of the environment so that the person can adjust to the surroundings. So, these two types of behaviors continuously happen. Sometimes we try to adjust when there is some kind of discomfort that is experienced, and other times we try to make some kind of adaptations by changing slightly, making slight modifications in the environment around us. So, what happens if we can't either adjust or accommodate or adapt? If we cannot neither adjust nor adapt, then certainly the individual feels stressed. For example, there is intense cold weather. The person is feeling cold, even if the person had tried to make all sorts of arrangements. Like the person has to go out into the market to buy something and it is freezing cold. So the person tries to put on all kinds of winter clothes, but still if the weather is so bad that the person is not able to even adapt or make adjustments, then certainly the person is going to feel anxious or will feel helpless. So the sense of control gets loosened up. As long as the person or individual feels he or she has control on the environment, then everything happens or goes about smoothly. But if the person feels that there is the situation is going out of control, that is in spite of any kind of adjustment changes and in spite of the adaptation changes, still the person is not able to overcome that particular environmental factor, then certainly the person will feel that the person is under the control of the environment, and in fact he is not having any control of the environment. So then several problems develop. So this adaptation level theory tries to understand human behavior from this perspective. Let us go on into understanding arousal theory. According to this arousal theory, they believe that our behavior is continuously affected by the kind of stimulation that the person is going through, or the kind of arousal the person feels inside his or her system. And they say that environment has a capacity to either excite the individual, that is arouse the individual, both ways, either positively or negatively. So any changes in environment either stimulate the person or they understimulate the individual. Sometimes arousal can be viewed positively, but some other times arousal cannot be viewed positively. There are many experiments done, especially in the field of social psychology, which tried to understand the influence of arousal that we can also bring into understanding in environmental psychology. So according to these psychologists, for example, in social psychology, they did an interesting experiment where they asked people to engage in a concentrated task. And when they are doing that concentrated task, they have asked them to perform in front of a group. So, and also there is another group of subjects who were asked to do a simple task in front of a group. And the results showed that those individuals who are doing complex tasks, when the group is present, their performance is come down. But when the group is not there, the same concentrated task, they did well. Going on to the results of the second group, when doing simple task, they found that, psychologists found that the presence of others in fact improved their performance. But when they are doing alone the same simple task, their performance is lower. So from this, they have understood that individuals are affected by the kind of arousal levels. So if the arousal level is high and you have to do a concentrated task, then naturally your concentration gets affected and so performance goes down. But if you are doing a routine simple task, then the little arousal that you experience because of the presence of others in fact facilitates your performance. and many more research has been done in this area trying to understand arousal and performance, arousal and human behavior. And arousal, when we say, it is always in the context of the environment, like they have done research on temperature and behavior performance, and researchers found that when the temperature is slightly increased, then performance is also increased, but if it is increased to a great extent, then again performance comes down. So the inverted U hypothesis has been framed, and the curve, if you plot the results in a graph, you will see it as inverted U. So the other areas that they did research is on personal space. Personal space invasion at all times led to performance decreasal. That is, when some strangers tried to enter the personal space, then all the people who are involved felt negatively aroused, and their performance and concentration has come down. And other areas that researchers investigated is on noise level. Here, increase in noise level again led to increase in arousal, and the performance has come down, especially if it is noise. On the other hand, if it is something that is enjoyable to the person like music, again there are inconsistent results. For some people, listening to good noise or music helps improve their performance, but for some people it interferes with their task, and the arousal that they have attained because of listening to music doesn't help them to improve their performance. Now let us see what stimulus load theory has to say. According to this theory, individuals are continuously bombarded by various types of stimuli. Some of them we tend to respond to, but some we ignore. And according to them, they postulate that all of us have a certain amount of what they call as sensory load. That is, we can take up to a certain level only the kind of stimuli that are impinging on us. But if the level exceeds that particular limit, then we are going to get affected by all the various stimuli that are affecting us. So according to them, sometimes when there is overload or stimulus overload, we try to concentrate on important stimuli, and we make all efforts to ignore unimportant stimuli. For example, if you are traveling by car or on bike in rush hour traffic, now naturally you will get to listen to so many kinds of noises, you will get to see so many scenes, and probably many people will be fighting along the way. But you will try to not concentrate on those disturbing factors, but try your best to concentrate on important stimuli, like checking the road ahead of you, looking at traffic signals and any traffic police on the way, and then you try to drive. Or if suppose you are in a car and in the back seat the children are there, they will be fighting, but you will try not to concentrate on what is happening inside the car, but you will try to focus all attention outside. So when there is stimulus overload, then we make our best efforts to try to still continue to concentrate on some of the stimuli and ignore others. But if the stimulus load keeps on still increasing further and further, that is really going to have a challenging effect on our concentration levels, and there will be a point when we give in. Probably it is at that time you will see that people, their tolerance level decreases, and they overreact, they lose their patience, and they start behaving in a different manner than otherwise that they will be usually behaving in. So, let us have a look at slide that shows the characteristics or points out the different characteristics of the environment that are going to have an effect on the stimulus load. So, according to this figure here, which is proposed by Wolville as early as 1966, he lists several characteristics of the environment. The first one is intensity. The intensity of the stimuli, how loud it is, how, if it is with respect to colors, how dark it is or how sharp it is, if it is to do with the light. So, like that, the intensity of the stimulus is going to have an impact on us. If the intensity is low, then the stimulus load is not much. Likewise, novelty. Novelty is newness. Any new thing that we see attracts our attention. For example, every day you are coming the same route to your college, but today you suddenly see a new shop or a new scene on the road, and that attracts your attention. So, certainly novelty, if novelty is more, there are so many new things for you to see. For example, when you went on a holiday, then you really get stimulus overload where you get lot of arousal because you are seeing so many new things. So, stimulus load will be more if novelty is more. If it is a routine thing, then stimulus load will be less. And other characteristics that he points out is complexity. Just like intensity, complexity is also an important characteristic. If you can understand the stimuli very easily, that is, if the stimuli is very simple, then it is not going to attract lot of attention or concentration from your side. But if the stimuli is very complex in nature, you are not able to understand. So, you need to spend lot of energy and effort, probably even gain some new information to understand it. Then the complexity of the stimuli is more, and also the load also will be more in that situation. Coming to other characteristic that he points out, that is temporal variation. Temporal variation is the changes in temperature. Certainly, temperature has lot of effect on behavior, and earlier too we have discussed some of the implications. Going on to another characteristic that he lists, it is surprise. Certainly, when we are surprised looking at a new stimuli around us, then that is going to demand more concentration and attention from our side and information processing from our side, and that also adds on to the stimulus load that we are experiencing at that given moment of time. Going on to the last characteristics that he points out, that is incongruency. That is, we have seen a stimuli, we expected it to be in a particular manner, but it is something quite contrary to our expectations. Then also, because there is a difference in what we have learned, what we have understood so far, and what we are seeing now, then also we are going to be, the stimulus load will be high. So, environmental psychologists take all these characteristics of the stimuli when they try to understand behavior, and also when they try to develop a setting for the individuals. Now, let us go and to see other theories, which is, for example, the behavior constraint theory. According to this theory, there are certain constraints that are imposed by the environment. Some of these constraints can restrict our behavior, some of these constraints can prevent us from a particular behavior, from doing that particular behavior, and some of these constraints can also limit our behavior. For example, if there is this boy, because of poverty the boy is not able to enjoy a nice home, then that is a constraint that the person has faced, and which is going to affect the development of that person. So, these constraints according to this theory can either be real or perceived. So, real constraints are ones that are actually present in the environment, But perceived constraints are not real constraints, but because of the psychological makeup of the individual misinterprets as if that particular thing is a constraint to the person. So, very capable environmental psychologists try to understand when people try to have these misconceptions regarding the limitations around them. So, they make various changes in the behavioral setting so that real or unreal imagination will happen. For example, they have studied the influence of different colors. Now, if dark colors are for example, there inside the building, then there is an experience that is felt by the individuals that the rooms are shorter than they actually are. So, if they paint the walls with light colors, then the individuals have this feeling that the particular room is much larger. So, here certainly it is not a real sort of a constraint or limitation, but it is how individuals are made up, their perception, their sensations. So, that also is going to have an impact on the social constraints that the individual experiences. So, environmental psychologists try to identify many such other features of the environment where we are unlikely to misconceive or misperceive, and they try to make adaptations and adjustments that will help us to overcome those limitations. Now, let us go on to Barker's theory. He has proposed what we call as behavioral settings theory, and he is one of the early environmental psychologists, and he is known for his contribution of settings, that is the role of settings in understanding environmental psychology, and he is well known for his landmark experiments that he did, what he termed as, what he called as one boy's day or one day in a life's boy. What he did is he videotaped several boys for several days together. So, he has tried to follow this boy right from morning wake up time till the boy getting ready to go for school, and then when the boy goes to the school, and then again the boy goes to the playground, then comes back home or attends church or attends some party. So, like that, one boy's day. He has tried to interpret the data that he has collected, and he has pointed out that basing on the settings that the individual is placed in, the behavior is changing. So, he says that these boys whom he has studied, when they are at home, they behave in a particular manner. But as soon as they go on to the school, then their behavior changes. And again when they go to a playground and play, there again he observed that their behavior has changed. And if suppose they have to go and attend church, then too Barker observed that the behavior has changed, which summarizes that settings in fact have lot of influence on our behavior. Kaplan and Kaplan, both of them tried to also study environmental effect on behavior and vice versa, and they came up with what we call as attention restoration theory. Their highly influential theory says that when a person is exposed to the natural surroundings, then those natural surroundings are going to have a positive impact on the behavior. So, they did research on office people working in the office, and they observed that early in the morning when they come, all these people working in this office pay lot of concentration on the work. Initially their performance is good, But after some time elapses, then they notice that this person's work performance is coming down. And so they observe two kinds of responses at that time. Some of them go out to have some fresh air or just have a small stroll in the landscape of the office, but some people take time off and spend in their own room or just go and visit colleagues' room. Their results have shown that those people who take some time off and spend it with nature, they come back and work more efficiently than people who spend for long time indoors. So their theory is called restorative or attention restorative theory, and which is highly influential and has lots of applications. So all these theories give us lot of information regarding how behavior is affecting the environment, and don't forget we have also seen very clearly how environment is also affecting behavior. So both of them interchangeably work, and environmental psychologists try to create the best kind of environment for the best behavior. Thank you.